Good evening, students. Tonight we are going to be discussing what you will learn in the next lesson. We will be using the measuring strips you learned about in the last class, and we will be using them to measure different objects found in the classroom. We will be discussing some background information in order for you to understand the process of the activity we will be doing in the next class.
Okay, so the overview and the objectives. In this lesson, you are faced with the challenge to measure objects longer than your measuring strips. You will measure objects that are longer than your measuring strips. You will compare and discuss the strategies you use to measure the objects. And finally, you will discuss the advantages and disadvantages of measuring strips. A little bit of background information. In this lesson, you will be using iteration. And what iteration is we learned that our measuring strips are 10 cubes long. So, with iteration, you take the measuring strip and you measure out the 10 cubes and you use a little marking with your finger. You take the measuring strip and connect it back to your finger on the other side, and you continue measuring longer objects like that. And this concept is taught through experience, so you'll learn how to use iteration through measuring various objects around the classroom in this activity.
So some of the materials you'll be using are one measuring strip, your record worksheet, which you will record your predictions and your results, one pencil, and crayons.
So, the procedure. You will be using the measuring strip from the last lesson. Think of objects that are longer than the measuring strip with your partner that could be found around the classroom. You will share your ideas with the class, and then we will record all the ideas up here. You will collect all the materials from the distribution center. After that, you and your partner will find an object to measure and predict how many units long it is. You'll then record this prediction on your record sheet. After, you will use the measuring strip to measure the object and record the actual measurement of the object on the record sheet. And finally, you will write the name of the object and draw a picture of it in a specified box on the record sheet. So, you'll put your prediction of how many cubes long, and remember, one measuring strip is 10 cubes long. So you'll write your prediction here, then you'll go and measure it with your partner and write how many cubes it actually was, and finally you'll write the name of the object up here, and you'll draw a little picture of the object in the box there. And you'll repeat this step 3 more times with 3 more different objects from the classroom. And make sure you're using some smaller objects and some larger objects to get a different idea of how big or small things actually are.
So for us to have enough time in the class to do this activity, we're going to show you an example of how to do this activity now. So today we are going to learn how to measure this screen. So as we remember, each strip is 10 cubes long. So we predicted that the length of this screen is 80 cubes long, which means it's 8 strips long. So we're going to use iteration to check and see if our prediction is correct. So
Start at 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 105.
So our prediction was 80 cubes and our results were 105 cubes. So we were somewhat close, but not quite.
So as you can see, we put our prediction right here, and then we put what the actual measurement was, and then after we would draw a little picture of the screen here, showing us measuring the screen with our measuring strip.
So after you do this activity in the next class, you're going to be answering these questions. How is using the measuring strip easy? How is using the measuring strip hard? How is using the measuring strip the same or different from using other units of measurement? So for the next class, we want you to start thinking about these questions. We want you to think about some of the objects that you might use in the classroom, and we look forward to exploring how to measure large objects in the classroom with you next class.